Hello and welcome to the Tom Mason YouTube channel. I am Tom Mason. Now, you've probably already seen, hopefully, probably, who knows, this is so well in advance. You've probably seen my documentary, John Comet, the man who was Doctor Who, based off his autobiography that is a great read on Audible, not sponsored. Now, one of the people I luckily got to interact with was the Evolve that owns a version of Bessie, and I'm going to interview him in roughly 3 to 4 seconds to talk about his amazing invention that I like to call the TARDIS. So, let's all give a round of applause and a welcome to Dean.
Hello.
Hello. So, how did you get into Doctor Who?
Well, I think I've been a fan for as long as I can remember. I think my earliest memory is probably when I was about 5 years old, watching John Pertwee. And I've got quite vivid memories of the Green Death in particular, which is to this day still my favourite story of all time.
And what made you decide to build this amazing masterpiece?
Well, it all started when I was about 15 years old. Me and a school friend decided we were going to make a TARDIS console, and we put something together in what was my mum's garden at the time. And then my mum died about 10 years ago, and I just couldn't bear the thought of the new owners ripping it all out and putting it in a skip. So I said to my old friend, do you fancy rescuing the console? So I'd moved up here by then, so I built the room specifically so I had somewhere to house the TARDIS console, and I've been dabbling with it ever since.
Have you ever attempted to make your own episode using the TARDIS you've built?
Not personally, but I do like it when other people get use out of it. So there's a chap does a series of adventures called The Ginger Doctor on YouTube, and he comes up and films frequently and has his own series that he's used it for.
That's quite clever, that. And do you still watch Doctor Who to this day? Do you watch the new era stuff?
I do. I watch it because I feel obliged to watch it, but my heart still lies with the classic stuff. I still prefer the old stuff.
And because the 60th anniversary is in November, what classic Doctor would you like to see come back for a cameo in the 60th?
Well, I quite like the last episode where they brought back those special appearances, but I understand why they don't do that regularly now, because they don't look like they used to look in the time. But I mean, it's always great to see Tom Baker back, isn't it, as a guest star.
And do you au fait with the world of Big Finish? And if so, what is your favourite thing about Big Finish?
I'm not really into the audio stuff, I must admit. I did start collecting them when they first come out, but no, I'm not a fan of all the spin-off stuff. I prefer just the hardcore original episodes.
Yeah. And how did you get involved with the Blu-ray box sets?
Well, that was through Chris Chapman. He contacted me because of my replica Bessie that I've owned for nearly 20 years now. And I think the first one I was involved with was the Green Death. Again, my favourite story. So I would have done that without any payment. That would have been great just to have been involved in that. But, you know, to have Katie Manning sitting in the car and Stuart Bevan driving the car, even if he did ruin my clutch driving it, it was just great to be involved.
And were you starstruck when you met Katie Manning for the first time?
I think she's so lovely that she just puts everyone at ease that meets her. I've always found her really warming, and so the couple of times I've been involved with these productions, it's been lovely. I mean, in particular, the Demons extra I was involved in, driving Joe Grant around Devil's End in Bessie was a bit of a surreal experience for me. I was living the dream.
Yeah. And is there any future Doctor Who stars that you would want to meet working on the box sets if you get to do it again?
No, I don't think there is, actually. I think a lot of my era are slowly disappearing, sadly. But it's just great to see the people involved that they have got involved. And
do you have a really big passion for the world of Doctor Who?
Yeah, Yeah, again, it's the classic stuff I'm primarily interested in, but I do watch the new series stuff, and I do still enjoy it. But I enjoy any science fiction. I even like the old sort of 50s classic sci-fi.
And because you've spoke about how you like the classic era, what's your thoughts on the animations that have come out because of some of the lost stories that have been found on audio?
I'm not a big fan of the animations. I think they're good for filling gaps in the archive. But again, 20 years ago, I was involved in the fan reconstructions. I was one of the first Telesnap reconstructors with the Loose Cannon team. And I still prefer seeing the original photos against the soundtrack.
Yeah. And do you think that adds to the story, having these telesnaps in place?
I do. I really think it helps to visualise how the episode would have looked. It's just a shame, again, that there isn't a full archive of telesnaps. There's still a lot of stories that don't have any telesnaps or any film material. It's quite sad.
And do you reckon all the stories will be found one day somewhere across the world?
I'd love to think it would happen, but I think the returns are getting so far apart now that it's looking very unlikely. But, you know, we always live in hope.
And do you enjoy watching the Blu-ray box sets once they arrive in your clutches?
Yeah, I think the production team on those do a fantastic job. It's presented beautifully, and there's so much love and care goes into the restoration. I think they're about as best as they can be.
Yeah, when you're watching them, do you watch it with the original special effects, or do you watch it with the new special effects?
Probably both. I prefer the original effects. I've been a bit disappointed with some of the new effects. The one that sticks in my mind is the Planet of the Daleks CGI. I thought that was a bit naff, considering it was, bigged up as being a new version of special effects.
Yeah. And when watching the episodes, do you prefer watching them as they were or in the omnibus edition?
No, individual episodes. I don't think Doctor Who is Doctor Who without the cliffhangers.
Yeah. Do you think they work? Do you think they don't work that well when you have an omnibus version?
No, I think you lose the impact of the cliffhanger without that, screech, the crescendo of the theme. I think that really helps the dramatic climax of the episode.
And when watching them back, because you've seen them so many times, do you still get surprised when the cliffhanger comes?
No, not so much now, because I've been rewatching them for years now. But when they first started releasing them on video in the early 80s, it then became a memory test to see how much of the original I remembered from first time around.
So, how did you get a hold of the Cybermen heads?
Well, I actually got a friend who's got moulds for them, so I taught myself how to fiberglass so I could make my own copies. And, what's interesting is a lot of them, although they look very different, they're actually out of the same mould.
Yeah.
They're just dressed differently. This one from 1968, for example, it's the same as the earlier mould, but with added extra moulds for the earmuffs.
Were you fans of the Cybermen before you started building them?
Yeah, they've always been a big part of Doctor Who, as have the Daleks.
So they're your favourite monster within Doctor Who?
Oh, that's a good question. Not favourite, but I'm very fond of them. I don't think I can pick a favourite monster. I don't know, Draconians probably. I think they've always been quite impressive.
And were you surprised when the Mondasian Cybermen returned for the Peter Capaldi era?
That was a great surprise. I thought they were introduced brilliantly, and they looked really good as well. Excellent.
And when the Sea Devils returned, were you excited for that, or were you a little bit disappointed of how they looked?
No, I thought the Sea Devils were good. I was a bit disappointed with the Silurians when they came back, because they didn't look anything like they should do. Again, I prefer the original appearance. I don't think you can beat the original look.
And if you were a Cyberman, which Cyberman out of the heads you've got would you like to have been?
I think the Earthshock Cyberman from '82, I think that was quite groundbreaking at the time. It was a step change above what had come before.
Yeah. And when would you build any more? If you had the funds and the money, would you build any more monster-related props?
I think it's all about space, isn't it? I've sort of swelled to fill the space that's available at the moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you for showing us this.
That's no problem.
Don't forget to subscribe to the official Tom Mason YouTube channel